Hey, deserving listeners. So occasionally I get a request to do a tour of the things behind me on the bookshelf. I finally have some free time, so I thought I would do that now. Now, if you don't want to watch this video, I totally understand. I don't know why anyone would, but if you're interested, you can see. And there's a lot of things behind me. It's sort of a representation of at least the pop culture / psychology topics that I'm interested in. It's a combination of a lot of psychology books and a lot of pop culture items and also personal items and podcast things. I spend a lot of time occasionally like refining what's behind me, not because anyone can really see it because it's blurred out, but because it's my office and I care about those things. Also, I'm going to take a tour of various things in this office. I am kind of obsessive about things like that, which might not surprise people. So if you're interested, feel free to watch. And, if you want to bow out after a few minutes because you're not interested, I totally understand. Okay, so this is a painting by good old T. Sky. If you remember her, she helped me with all the Vanderpump stuff. This is a band I was in college called Stu, and the bassist actually drew this album art. This is my adult band. That sounds funny, adult, but this is the band that I'm in now. This is my University of Washington bachelor's degree in business. This is my first psychology degree, master's, and then this is my doctorate from Antioch. Then this is what a client gave to me years and years ago, maybe 20 years ago. I've talked about this gift. If you know, you know. And then this painting was made by Amy Berkman, who is a famous artist who you can see on Instagram. And she makes paintings very quickly, like in a minute. And I think she asked me what I wanted, and I said, me and the team. And so she made this, which is great. This is a new merch item that Stacy designed. And don't worry, this is an LED bulb, so it's not gonna cause a fire. This, I wasn't planning on talking about, but let's take a detour. This is an advertisement, like a flyer, a poster that was made by a venue that no longer exists in Seattle called Seasound Lounge, in which I was going to play dance music. And I'll play like 3 seconds of that right here. And I liked this poster because, I don't know, it just makes me look like a real artist. And then, of course, you're not a proper YouTuber without putting your button behind you. This is a picture of another band that I'm in that we cover Strokes songs. And then this is sound baffling. It's filled with like towels and stuff so that it's very dense but porous, and so the sound goes in and doesn't come out. All right, let's go down to the spaceships. So this is Battlestar Galactica. My brother got this for me when he was in Japan in 1981. If you know Battlestar Galactica, what did I say? Star Blazers. This is Battlestar Galactica. This is Star Blazers. This, of course, is a Viper from Battlestar Galactica. And this, of course, is the Enterprise from Star Trek. And this, is, of course, is an X-Wing. And this is the Mandalorian second ship. This is the Mandalorian first ship. This is Apollo 11 lander, which is a real spaceship. This is my giant land speeder. By the way, most of these Legos were gifts from Stacy. Eventually you get to an age where it's hard to get you gifts, like what do you buy your dad every year? And I told my wife that I would love Legos for gifts. And so I just said, to myself, don't ever buy Legos on your own. Just wait for her to get you something. And this is my giant Tantive 6, I think it's called. Yoda. Baby Yoda. What am I talking about? And this is Yoda's ship that we see very briefly in episode 3. And this is one of my childhood stuffed animals. Good old Sam. I bought him with my own money for $5, probably from Sears, I'm guessing. And this is my Musubi stuffed animal. And that, of course, is R2-D2. All my D&D stuff here. Some original books. And I have here a book that is something I filled out when I was a kid. The book about me. And here's a couple astronomy books from my childhood. I read these things and had no idea what they were saying, but I loved them. And here's a book I remember reading when I was a kid about Louis Pasteur, about believing in yourself. And in the second grade, I loved the art in this book so much that I would make cartoon or comic books. I would make little comic strips with me and my friends in them. We were like soldiers. Here's another book from my childhood. It had like artwork from Empire Strikes Back. Here are my yearbooks from high school and junior high. What's this? This is a reunion booklet with different accounts and family history. This is another one. And this is an autobiography from my grandfather, my mom's dad. Very interesting. And these are some books from my childhood that I also adore. Where the Sidewalk Ends. I love this annotated version of The Hobbit because it has little notes in the margin. Light in the Attic. A lot of Silverstein stuff. And then these are some of my favorite. All four of these are hilarious. And then Shill. Shill should be up here. Wait, what's going on? And then over here is this journal that someone gave me in high school. For a brief moment, I fancied myself a short story writer. I was terrible at it, but I liked doing it. This is my Bible from when I was a kid. This is my mom's Bible from when she was a kid in the 50s. I don't consider myself to be a Christian now. That's what I'll say about that. And these are books with my wife on the cover. She is a model, and in this one, she's wearing Fabio's vest, apparently. And this is a Mad book from when I was a kid in the 70s. This was what teenagers would read. This is a Choose Your Own Adventure book that is from my childhood. I loved Choose Your Own Adventure books, and I loved this particular one. We would run to the store and beg our parents to buy us books back then. And this book is Forever, Judy Blume. And everyone in my, I guess it would have been late grade school, 5th grade, was reading this book because Judy Blume wrote all these kids' books. I know she wrote Blubber and Hey God, It's Me, Margaret, right? And then she releases this book called Forever, and all the parents just blindly buy this for their kids. And it turns out this is young adult. This has some sex scenes in it, written from a teenage girl's perspective. And boy, was it formative on me and every other classmate. We all talked about it. Boys and girls had memorized exactly where all the sex scenes were. And here's another astronomy book from my childhood. I would actually check this out from the library when I was in 1st grade, maybe even kindergarten. Again, I had no idea what I was looking at. This is a model of my mouth for a recent implant that I had. The dogs are barking. And I always ask for it because I think it's hilarious. And I always say, well, you know, if I die in a fiery crash, you can at least use this to identify the body. Under here is a little box that is from my grandma. My mom's mom loved owls, and she had a really good sense of style. A lot of the
home decor choices that I make has to do with me just trying to recreate my mom's parents' house. And let's look inside to see what's in here. Oh, well, so this is from Michelle, who died, and they gave me some of her fur, which is very touching. Here's my ID from Antioch. This is a signature stamp of my grandma's father, Wahei Okamoto. In Japan, they use these stamps. My dogs are still barking. Here is a 20-sided die that was given to me by Aaron, a student of mine, a friend of mine, supervisee of mine. Oh, here is a wrist identification band of my father's when he was a kid, when he lived in Spokane. So these two rocks, do I say? Stacy and I have a tradition. We don't do it all the time, but I would say during special events, when we're at a restaurant, we will steal something. It's terrible that she did it first, I think. No, I think I did it first with one of the rocks, and then she riffed on it, which I'll get to later. These rocks, don't tell anyone, are from the Salish Lodge. No, Sapalmi, well, I don't know what they call it now. But if you've seen Twin Peaks, the falls, the waterfall, and then there's a lodge there. These are from the restaurant. These are from two different visits to that restaurant. I'll show a picture of us, at least from one of the rocks. Oh, and this is my wristband from when I was born. You have a little wristband that you wear to make sure that the babies don't get mixed up. This is mine. Oh, this is the literal dog tag of our dog Pfeffer, which I'll show a picture of here. Oh. So this is a tooth. I don't know if you can see it. And I've talked about this story on the podcast, I think, where me and my friends were out to dinner and we'd had a couple drinks and we're outside the restaurant just kind of chatting. And my friend's little boy was kind of getting a little squirrely and walking around trying to explore. And he was pretty young. I'm thinking he would have been like 2. And he was getting close to the edge of some stairs. And I, as a, friend / I guess honorary uncle, I often do feel like it's my responsibility to take the load off of the parents sometimes and, corral the kids. Plus it's just kind of fun, And so I'm keeping an eye on him and I'm making sure he doesn't go off the edge and hurt himself. And he starts to mosey on over to another ledge. And I'm like, wow, time seemed to slow down in this moment. And I'm like, I got plenty of time because I've been watching him like a hawk and I'm just like 1 or 2 steps away. And so all I got to do, is like, this is my thinking at the time, everything grinds to a slow-mo situation. And I can feel myself taking steps, brisk steps over to him to stop him from going over the edge. But for some reason, I guess it's because, we were in Hawaii and we ordered this blue drink that we all, like the 6 of us shared. And the drink was, maybe I have a picture or a video. The drink was, it's hard to describe. Hopefully I have a picture. But I blame whatever the hell was in that thing because I saw it a mile away and my reaction time was such that I just missed him by a millimeter, and he went over the edge and he smacked his head into the concrete and, he's crying. And I'm just like, even though it wasn't official, it wasn't like I said to the parents, I've got him, don't worry. It was sort of just implied by what I was doing. But still, it was under my jurisdiction, so to speak. And the tooth was chipped, I believe. It didn't come out or anything. A baby tooth, right? And then when he lost the tooth, my friend bronzed it or golded it or something and gave it to me. That's a joke. Because what happened was I apologized. And every couple months, the thought would emerge in my head, and I would text them, or if I was with them, I'd be like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And they're like, don't worry about it. Like, they didn't blame me at all. And they're not, those kind of parents that are overprotective. And so they're just like, it's not a big deal. Kid fell, so he'll live. But I mean, it just broke my heart, because that kid, he to this day, he's just the sweetest. All right, I took a little detour because I wanted to find out what the dogs were barking at. Turns out they are barking at Stacy's mom. This is a book by Milan about personality disorders. Each chapter, I've had to repair it, as you can see. This section is where it gets into more clinical stuff, obviously. And this is the section for diagnosing. Here are my old DSMs. This is my first DSM I bought in 95. And then my 5 text revision is behind me. Quick access for when I'm doing podcasting and stuff. I think these are books I plan on getting rid of. And what I wanted to do before I got rid of them is review them and talk about them on the podcast. I think that was my plan, because these books are kind of redundant. I don't really need them. All right, over here, another fun shelf. These are some of my original space Legos from when I was 9 years old, 1980. I loved my space Legos. This is the original mug that I made. It was for, patrons at a certain level. And I don't know, kind of like this mug, but we don't offer this mug anymore. Does anyone have this mug from back in the day? This, of course, is a phaser from original Star Trek. Behind here is my bag o' dice. I open it up and you can look in there. So when Stacy designs new merch, she always orders samples, right, to see how they turn out. Because, it's one thing to have it look okay on a computer. It's another thing to actually see it printed out. And here's Brienne of Tarth, who is one of my favorite Game of Thrones characters. Let's see what else is in this mystery cup. This microphone is the very first microphone that I had. I think it's from Radio Shack. It's a PV microphone, which is kind of funny. If you know stuff about gear, you wouldn't think of PV making microphones. This is their knockoff of the SM58. And I had this in high school, and it was a big deal to me because I recorded all these really janky home recordings of songs with this microphone. It's very when you're a recording person, you get real sentimental about your microphones. And what's in here? It's Brienne's sword, and it looks like there's a Lego blaster in there, and there's quarters for some reason, and a lightsaber. All right, another sample mug, and we have Joy from Inside Out. Inside Out 2 is coming out soon. This is Garrick from Deep Space Nine, one of my favorite characters. This is a little thing, I don't know what you call it, little stuffed animal guy that a fan made. I forget who. By the way, if you ever make me fan art or something, please put your name somewhere on it so that I can remember, because I don't really have a system of remembering these things. I'd have to make a spreadsheet or something. So, because I talk about corny. If being healthy is corny, then be corny. Okay, so as promised, here are the things that Stacy has stolen. Here's some kind of clam fork, and some fancy. Wow, these are fancy spoons. I mean, I wrote down on where this one comes from. Oh, so this kind of normal looking spoon with the tape on it, I labeled because there was this really great diner that Stacy and I loved going to. We were there on the last day before it closed, and we were talking with the waitstaff, and they said that they were told everyone was going to lose their jobs a few days earlier. And I empathized with the waitress, and she started crying. There's a lot of diners, a lot of American diners in Seattle and around the United States. But when you find the one that you really like, you like the menu, you like the people, you like the vibe, you like the seats. Diners, particularly brunch time on the weekend, there's a lot of diners in Seattle that are really overhyped, and there's like a line out the door, it's a 2-hour wait, and Lena's never had that. Here's a pen from Antioch. Here is a tuning fork from Stacy's dad, who has passed away. He used this to tune his guitar. He liked to play guitar like me. So Stacy married her dad. This is a company I used to work for called WCI. A friend of mine now owns it. Oh, it's a little heart stone. My grandpa's brother's wife, so I guess my great aunt, died last year. And at the memorial, there were all these little hearts, so I took that. So I didn't steal it. It was available. This is another mug, right? I think this is actually what you get if you're at a certain Patreon level. And then this is the microphone that I bought around the year 2000. And it was my first real mic that I had. All the mics I had before were like really cheap, Radio Shack. But this was the very first mic I ever bought for real. In fact, I went into the American Music here in Seattle, or Guitar Center, maybe it was Guitar Center, and I asked them, I wanted to sound like Elliott Smith, and the guy kind of laughed at me and said, well, first off, you have to be Elliott Smith, but here's a good mic. And I'm really glad that he recommended this because it's a Japanese company, Audio Technica, and I love this microphone. This is the microphone that I use to record a lot of my music, and I would use it for vocals, for guitar, for piano, because I only had one good microphone. Then when I started the podcast, I just grabbed all my music stuff and used that to record the podcast. And I love the way this sounds, but it's not the most convenient podcasting microphone. So I use a boring-ass Shure SM7B. It's the podcast mic that everyone uses. You'll see it on YouTube. You'll see me use it. This is the original one, but it's real banged up because, it has seen a lot of action. So I bought a new one. So when I do reaction videos, this is the microphone that is like off camera, because this microphone, these are more sensitive mics than anyway, I won't bore you with the details. This mug here is from a listener who sent this, I think, for the 15th anniversary. By the way, if you want to send me things or us things, want to send Bob something, or Berto or Stacy or Rebecca, then you can go to our website, which I have revised recently, by the way, from Amy from St. Paul. Thank you, Amy. Then, of course, back here, all my minifigures. I bought this display case. These are my books on ethics. I have a lot of books on ethics. Usually, a typical therapist office, you'll see one book, but I have all of these books. I'm a little obsessed with it. A original Happy Days lunchbox. What's in this guy? Oh, so this is a hand mold that I made when I was, I guess for Christmas, 1977. So I was in kindergarten. My mom wrote here. This is my great-grandfather's camera. And, here's Michelle's paw print that they made for me. And then here is Obama, the other cat. And then this is, by the way, my cat's names were Michelle and Obama. I got them during the election year, 2008. But it's weird because their names should be Barack and Michelle, right? But for some reason, I just named them Michelle and Obama. And I instantly thought it was kind of silly that I named the cats that, because I adopted them from Pet Finder. And a nice couple from like San Diego drove. The cats were from the streets of Beirut, Lebanon, and were rescued off the streets by this organization called
Animals Lebanon. They fly the animals out to the States for adoption, and this family in, I think, San Diego or San Francisco or something, they drove them all the way up to Seattle for me. I'm figuring, okay, what do I name him? And I just thought, Michelle Obama, and I instantly regretted it. But, once you name something, it's like hard to take it back. So anyway, this is from my childhood, and this is before Nintendo came out, and it's like a mini Mario game that me and my little brother were obsessed with. We would play when we were in church. Oh, this is a TBTL. Oh, the batteries must be dead. But it plays various different famous drops from TBTL. And here are all of my old cell phones and my old Zune. People make fun of Zunes, but it was better than the iPod. My first Pixel. I remember when I got this phone, this Razr. I thought it was so awesome. And then the iPhone came out like a year later. This is an old iPhone. Another old iPhone. My Japanese great-grandfather's pair of glasses from Spokane. And I like this because it has a bionic woman. Here are my little figures. Of course, Yoda, Freud, Tyrion, Napoleon, Fauci, Fazzini, and a statue that was given to me some students, and it was really quite special, so I have it on my shelf to remind me. This is something I made in pottery just to test out different glazes. Here are some ashes for Obama and Michelle. And this is a etched glass thing. It says Honda, and it has our family seal, our moan, and this was given to me as a thank you for planning a family reunion, I believe in 2015. I can't remember which one, but here's my dissertation, by the way. I have two versions. These are just kind of books they're notable books, I guess. This is my main ethics book, Over here were all my other ethics books, but when I really want a quick reference, this is that one. This is my quick MMPI-2 reference book. Over here, these are my frequently grabbed books. This is my book. I bought some copies narcissistically. And you can see actually a couple books from my mentor, Philip Cushman, that died recently. Actually, 3 of his books. And some of these books are very popular, like this one's pretty popular. These books I reference, so I want them just behind my chair, and I'll grab them and read various different passages. And then over here, we have a book that I read about Dungeons and Dragons. And some of the Legos don't fit up top, so here's a little land speeder. Here's some old Atari cartridges, some of my favorites, and notable. The E.T. one was horrible. I actually remember getting that for Christmas and trying to play it. It's actually a famous cartridge that basically broke Atari. This is my mom's apple with gold flakes in it. My mom gave it to me because she was proud of me for being a professor, and you give teachers apples. This shelf is just for attachment. These are all my books on grief and death and dying. And I'm using these books as reference for my book on grief, which I am currently finishing. And over here, we have books that are about clinical skills, therapy skills, various different schools of thought. And over here are my books about different types of therapies and also about different aspects of being a therapist. Here's an award that I got at Antioch. Berto actually got me this from the author, signed from the author, from PAX or Zakutacon or something. This was made by a deserving listener. She also made trolls for Berto and Bob, and I gave those to them. So that's the me one. Here's Bilbo. That's a football game that me and my cousins would play constantly around 1979. This is a little silver duck that my mom's parents gave to me. These are the tarot cards that Rebecca made. Behind here is a box that I got when I was in Havana, Cuba. Let's see what's in here. I'm not really into cigars. I did keep one. I think I gave all the rest to friends. And, these are some beads from Mardi Gras that I went to just before lockdown, by the way. We have some Empire Strikes Back cards, like trading cards. And inside, it came with gum, and I can feel it in there. I bought a bunch of these and opened some, and the gum was obviously past its due date. Garbage Pail Kids, Berserk Kirk. I had this when I was a kid. And these were a big deal in second, third grade. Here's an old tape that I think has like voicemails on it. Here's one of my old cell phones, obviously. The antenna busted off, as they tended to do. One of the listeners sent me some funny stickers that I've kept for some reason. This is a candy, a Freud candy that a student gave me. Here's Mighty Mouse. Here's a little patch, a safe zone that you get to display one of my very first digital watches, or maybe my very first digital watch. There was a time when having a digital watch was such a thing. My favorite Nintendo DS games that I played constantly. A pin that we made in high school, me and my friends. These are all sort of inside jokes. Here is a coin that a listener gave me that is from the Satir family camp. They got this campaign pin. Here's a little car from Colombia that I got when I visited there with Berto, seeing his family. Just before the pandemic, I went to Mardi Gras, and then like half a week later, I went to Tahoe to ski, and then a couple days later, the lockdown happened, and then a couple days into that, I, on a whim, decided to watch Love is Blind, and I posted it, and then my life changed from there. And these two things really symbolize like how much travel I was planning on doing that year. I had a few other travel plans that, of course, had to be canceled. And then once I posted my Love is Blind stuff, and I basically added a whole other full-time job to my life of making YouTube content, I, up until today, have been working so much I haven't traveled hardly at all. I just now finally might be able to take a vacation and maybe travel. But I don't know, like being not in an airplane, I get so annoyed now at the airport and security and the airplanes and the travel. And I kind of want to return to when I was younger and I couldn't afford travel and I would have to resort to road trips. My student and friend Aaron, who gave me the 20-sided die, also gave me his favorite D&D figure, Space Needle figure. This style of pick was always my favorite because, so Fender mediums were the ones I always liked to use, but because I hit the strings so hard, halfway through a gig, the pick would be worn down and I'd have to switch. But for whatever reason, this style with the various different colors, they last longer, and I think it's because they glue all the different colors together. It feels the same as a medium pick, but it lasts like a lot longer. And then this pick I got from the Beatles store on Baker Street in London. These are all books about culture that I like and want to, reference every now and then. These two shelves are all books that I plan on getting rid of, but I want to review before I donate them or something. These books are on gender and feminism. Very important books to me. This one's particularly good, by the way. This is a famous one, and so is this one. This is another Legos thingy, and it actually, closes. Oh no, 3PO, save us. And then books on sexuality and relationships. And then over here we have books on family. And then over here are more books on family stuff. Some of these books I assigned in my classes. All right, moving down. These are all my Freudian psychodynamic books. There's a lot of them here. And then we start getting into the object relations books. These are very important to me. That one is quite a tome. And then more psychodynamic books, all very important to me. And then we have a couple more little boxes. I don't think anything's in these guys. One hand. Nope. Ready for business. This box my mom got when she was in Haiti doing a humanitarian mission to provide medical supplies. A Leslie Knope lanyard identification. One of my favorite characters ever. Oh, here's an old pin. We still have some of these. Occasionally we give them out during our anniversary shows. Husky football. So this is the Seahawks helmet I remember. And I love that old Seahawks. I still am not used to the new one. The new one, it's been out for like 25 years. This is a Facebook pin that I got. I went to a Facebook event years and years ago. It was like a free dinner, and they used it as a way to network, I believe, between different influencers or something. I don't know. This is Game to Grow, which is a wonderful organization that, if you listen to the D&D episodes with Adam and Adam, this is a pin that my mom had because she was on the bowling team league thing in Issaquah in the 70s. This is a pin that my dad got for working at Boeing for 10 years, but he would eventually work at Boeing for 45 years. I can't remember Frank's alias, like Kablazian or something. Here's a little pin from Antioch that we would wear in meetings. This is a pin that is, I think, my mom. Oh, yeah, Pi Beta Phi. So this is when my mom was in a sorority, very briefly before my dad knocked her up. She was in college for one year, and during that year, they got pregnant. This is my mom's pin. She was in the Order of the Rainbow, which is sort of like Boy Scouts or something for ladies back then. And it's a offshoot of the Masons, I believe, or Shriners. This is a pin from the frat that I was in. Ooh, here's an old name tag from when I worked at the Salish Lodge. Little did I know that I would eventually steal some shit from there later. I was a waiter there. Ooh, here's a name tag from when I worked at Foot Locker. Very briefly, for 4 weeks. I hated working there because it was purely commissions, which sucked, and the manager refused to hire enough people. There were 3 people to work at the Foot Locker in Westlake Mall, downtown Seattle. And, it's open 7 days a week for, 14, 15 hours a day. So do the math on that. And you need 2 people there at all times. So all of us were working 6-7 days a week. And it was on commission. And I hated commission because I'm not a good salesman. And I get shy. And the manager was also a complete asshole. And he was verbally abusive. He did it one too many times. And I just said, yeah, I quit. And he was pissed. But, fuck him. Here is another Antioch ID for being a supporter of Doctors Without Borders. And, here is my busking license. I was an official licensed busker in Pike Place
market, you needed one of these in order to do that.
What are we gonna tell our friends when they say, ooh la la, wake up Miss Susie, wake up Miss Susie, I ain't got nothing but love.
Here's one of my name tags. Here is a little pin I got when I was on the art walk, a Mr. Rogers thing. The 143 means I love you, right? So these are guitars that I play frequently. I have several guitars, but this is my fancy acoustic that I bought in 2016 after playing a lot of really shitty guitars, but I found it's a Gibson Songwriter. It is the perfect sounding guitar, in my opinion. Electric guitar made by Electrophonic, and they make a guitar that has an amp and speakers inside. I love this because I can just pick it up and I don't have to turn on an amp and I don't have to turn on all my pedals and everything in one. And if you're a guitarist or you know a guitarist, then you know that, chords and pedals and power supplies and gear is just strewn about, and I don't have a lot of room in my office for that nonsense. Plus, I don't like the clutter. And then this is one of my favorite guitars to actually just play. And then over here, I have some important photographs. This photograph is of me, Lita, and Berto filming one of the very first episodes of Psychology in Seattle. The Space Needles behind us were on Queen Anne, and we're filming an episode there. I asked Berto if he wanted to do a podcast. Well, first off, I asked Bob, and Bob said, oh, God, no, I'm too nervous. And then I asked, maybe Berto. And so I asked him, and he was like, yeah, let's do it. And then I thought, well, it'd be good to have a third. And so I asked Lita. She was a co-host for about a year or so. Berto and Stacy at one of our Oscar parties. Here's a photo that Stacy took of me and a lot of the professors, maybe all of them at the time. This is Paul David, by the way. He's the one that I interviewed recently, my mentor that has Alzheimer's. And then up here is Jerry. He is the one that died rather recently. Here is a picture of me and Berto. Stacy took this picture as well. We did an official photo shoot, and this is a drawing that a listener made. And here's a band photo of Bright Knife Incident, Brant and Carlos. Brant, the bassist, he had a point and shoot camera, and we just put it on a shelf and took a picture. Here's a picture of me and my students at the time, just one of the classes. Aaron, actually, the one that, the D&D gifts are from him. And I just have, so many fond memories of students, and I wish I could have photos of all the classes. All right, so another one of these sound dealies. And here's my lightsaber that you can make. It's a custom lightsaber at Disneyland. And I don't know if you remember the drama with the weird sound it was making because the battery was low. That's that guy. And then in this little nook, I have some more things that I just like to have nearby. It's sort of narcissistic, but this is the trademark official for Psychology in Seattle. I don't know why I framed it. When you're a podcaster, you don't get a lot of physical evidence of your podcasting. So that just feels like one of the things that you would frame. This is a letter informing me in 1998 that I am now a professor. This is a $2 bill, obvious, but I had a job when I was 13 years old, and don't tell anybody, but I didn't have a social security number yet. What they did is they just didn't pay me until I got my social security number, because you had to apply, right? And then like a few months in, I got my social security number, and I cashed in this one check, and it was for like $93 and some odd cents. They gave me $93, and for whatever reason, they paid me, instead of 3 ones, they gave a $2 bill and a one. And, $2 bills kind of rare. And for whatever reason, at the age of 13, I just thought, maybe I should hold on to this $2 bill. I worked at Sun Sun Restaurant, a Chinese restaurant, family owned, and my sister was a waitress there, and she got me the job there. I was a busboy. It was a very stressful job at the age of 13. So before they had licensure in marriage and family therapy, they had certification. And so this is my certification that was given to me in 1999. This is my award for Educator of the Year, one of the most important awards. I haven't won many awards, but this is a very important. Because, in all of Washington State, I was honored as being Educator of the Year. Big deal to me. This is, that's a thermostat, but that is a printout, a sticker of the very first logo for Psychology in Seattle. So you can see the Space Needle and then the Greek letter for psychology, right? We eventually, when Stacy took over with the logos and stuff, she's like, you can't use that because the Space Needle is a trademarked thing. But Berto designed this, and I think it's pretty cool, This is the band that Berto and I were in years and years ago, a CD that we made together. This is a CD that I made by myself. And then down here is my trash can and recycling. And then here are a bunch of photo booth printouts, right? All right, so this is another one of those sound baffling things. And this is a kimono of mine. This was my kimono when I was a little boy, like 1.5 years old. And then over here is my office door. I have some Psychology in Seattle stuff. A fan made this. This one just cracks me up. For Halloween, he dressed up as me, and then I don't know if that's someone else or him or something, but he recreated. I just find that so genius. A fan made this as well. Kind of funny. I got Star Wars stuff, Parks and Rec stuff, Garbage Pail Kids. See, there's that garbage. It's my band, Spock. Another fan made this. We actually licensed from him, and we can sell merch. More fan art, Parks and Rec. Got some philosophers and mathematicians. And me and Stacy. Scratch and Sniff, if you remember that. Another fan art thing. Fan art, pretty good. Well, I have a bunch of these. These are hilarious. I have them. I have the actual copies. I actually bought them from her. More fan art. The Shins, Fender, Parks and Rec from our 15th. And then, whenever you buy a Shure microphone, they give you one of these stickers. And then I just have a bunch of random pictures. This is by Teresa. I love her art. Fan art. These are screenshots from a cartoon that someone made. The audio was pulled from when I was reacting to It's Always Sunny therapy episode. Rebecca at an estate sale. This is a card that someone made years ago. Berto and I hugging us here. This is fan art that was made a long, long time ago. I think this is just an Instagram post. This is me reacting to very extreme hot sauce. I tried the second hottest sauce on Hot Ones, the YouTube show. It's pretty funny. This is pretty good too. A painting of Berto. Berto and I at our first live show. Magical. One of the top 5 moments of my life. Alina here. That fan art. Someone made this for the 12th anniversary show. This is one of my favorites. I asked her, Teresa, to make one of Berto. Bob and I playing cards there. Over here is what I call my death rocks. I'm expected to, in terms of life expectancy for an Asian American male, another 25 years. So 25 times 12 is, 250, 300. So I think I bought 300
rocks, if my math is right. And every month on the first day, I take out a rock and I put it in here. So this is to remind me that I have limited time on this planet and I better do what I can to make the world a better place and enjoy myself and not sweat the petty stuff and to appreciate those around me and be grateful for all the things that I have. And these bowls I made in pottery class. They're pretty janky, but I'm getting better. All right, well, that's the end of the video. If you've reached the end, you have either watched the whole video, and I don't understand why anyone would want to watch this stuff. So, I mean, for me, if I were to come across a video of a YouTuber or a podcaster that did something like this, I'd watch it. I've watched videos like this, actually. Or you've reached the end of this video because you just skipped ahead to the end, which is interesting. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comments. It's a little bit of a vulnerable video for me to do, so I'm a little bit extending myself. But, you know, I trust y'all. And take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.